Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday morning. Hope it's going to be a good day for you. It's starting out pretty good here. I didn't run ads this morning because I'm running a little bit behind, so I'm just going to give you a quick blurb. Um, EMP Shield, always, if you click my link down in the description, you get $50 off on your order. They also have where if you order multiples, two or more of an item, you start out at $20 extra off, and up to like for four or more, you can end up getting like $200 off. Um, it's not just for an EMP. It's for like when you have storms and you have what do you call them? Like power surges, things like that. That protects your home, electronics, your RV, your your quad or your four wheeler, how whatever you call it, boats, everything, anything that's got electrical, they have an EMP shield for it. The other thing is my PatriotSupply.com. They have just tons and tons of different foods, and they're for every one of them that I've tried, they're delicious. They you can't even tell that they were coming out of a bag. When they're still sealed up, they've got a shelf life of 25 years. And I think as far as price comparability, you can go and buy a month's worth of food from My Patriot Supply for less than what you would pay for a month's worth of food, even from like Walmart, for example, or maybe even Aldi. But at at least if you don't use it, you can store it. But it's not, it's not just for home use. If in case of emergencies, it's excellent for camping. You can take separate individual packs for hiking, all kinds of stuff. So it's not just for bug out. Good stuff. Check it out. All right, let's get on to what we're going to get on about. I don't know if we've got anybody in yet. If you're there, give me a quick shout because I am going to go through and cover some news, and then I'm going to kind of go through, and hopefully we have enough people here that I can have a discussion with you on some of the Freaky Friday stuff that I wanted to cover. So, yeah. So if you're out there, give me a quick shout out. Give me a thumbs up. Speaking of thumbs up, give me a thumbs up on the video here or on the stream. If you have time or if you want, if you feel like doing it, and you want to help me out here, share it out. Get some more subscribers here. I'm just trying to build back up from what died out a couple years ago when I went stagnant for a while. Um, Also, comments down below the video are very helpful. And if you want to see what all else I've got going on out there, all the links are in the description. I'm very active on X. I'm semi active on Truth Social. I don't hang out there a lot because most of the times um, to me, it's kind of a, what do you call it? Like an echo chamber. So, but I do go over there when I'm hearing that President Trump is starting to put stuff out again. I go over there and grab some of his stuff and I post it over on X. Some of the other people that are in his administration as well. Let's see. Our website is www.realtube.stream. Realtube, RealTube.stream. And the site is 100% completely free to use. I don't do any tracking or anything like that. You can view any video, read any ad, look at any blogs, anything over there without even having an account. But if you do sign up for an account, then you also have the ability to make comments on videos, on articles, on pretty much anything that's posted there on the site. Plus, by having an account, then you also have access to the forums. There's some other cool stuff that we're going to be doing over there. I do have it set up that I can live stream to there, but I figured why do it when I can just like link to previous videos and if you want, you can watch them there. But rather than trying to search for certain things on YouTube for some of these other videos that I mention and talk about, you can find them pretty easily over on the website. I am streaming to this channel here on YouTube. I have it was the old Virax network. It's called Chill and Relax now. That will be for like special live streams, and I plan on just putting only the documentary stuff over there that I do. And I'm hoping I can build that up. We don't have very many subscribers on that channel because I just up until recently I haven't done anything with it. And then I stream over to Rumble. We're actually live on Rumble right now. If you're over on Rumble, good morning. I have your chat box up. Give me a shout out if you're watching live. Give me a thumbs up or just say hi or something so I know you're there. And then the same holds true with Rumble. Let's have conversations in chat. I do read every comment that goes on every video. So whether it's here or on Rumble, YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute, and I may as well mention too that I have the ability to live stream on BitChute now, but I don't, because everything that I do on either this YouTube channel or the other YouTube channel automatically goes into BitChute. If it's a short video, it's same day, usually within an hour or so. But if it's a longer stream, anything over an hour, it takes a day or two for it to get up there. But BitChute, I don't have as many subscribers over there as I do here on this YouTube channel, on the IRL Media YouTube channel, but I have a lot more activity over there and I have a lot more views. So BitChute's actually kind of getting fun, and I think what I might do on BitChute, since I can live stream over there, I may do some extra special stuff over there just for my BitChute subscribers. Maybe once a week or something like that. I might do it like Saturdays, because normally Saturday I don't stream, but I'm doing it today to make up for yesterday. I had some stuff come up and I was too crunched for time, and I didn't want to be right in the middle of a stream and then have to end it because I had another commitment. So, anywho, that's where we're at right now. I think I got all the info stuff out of the way, so I suppose we can maybe get on the news. Mainly I have just a few news articles here. Not a whole lot. And now I think I saved them in my bookmarks. Dun, dun, dun. Or no, they weren't in my bookmarks. They were mainly on the home page here. And under today's news. Okay, so it seems like every time President Trump has got lawfare going on against him, every time he's going to do some new thing to help push us forward and make America great again, he gets a circuit court or a smaller federal court or somebody always trying to get in the middle and stop it for whatever reason. Okay, so this was just re-updated again about a minute ago, but apparently the DC Appeals Court stays Trump admin's immigrant CDL restrictions. Well, Secretary Duffy was going to revoke 17,000 CDL license from California that were issued to illegal immigrants. Okay, so it's just about a paragraph and a half, so I'll read this off to you because it's just an update. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit granted a temporary stay on the Trump administration's rule limiting non domiciled commercial driver's license for immigrants following a lawsuit by Public Citizen and other groups alleging procedural flaws. The rule issued by Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy in September of 2025 aimed to enhance road safety after many fatal crashes involving unqualified foreign drivers and amidst licensing fraud cases. The state preserves jobs for approximately 200,000 immigrants in the trucking sector, which faces driver shortages, while states like California revoke 17,000 such licenses under federal pressure. So California is still continuing on. But California wasn't the only state where we had this issue, and it wasn't just 17,000 people. As it mentioned here, there were approximately 200,000. So, we're gonna. This is probably not going to last very long because this is going to fall under what Trump was given the go-ahead for last week on his immigration stuff. So, because most of these people that they're talking about, out of the 17,000 plus, now this 200,000 immigrants, some of them are becoming, or they're either in the process or already have become American citizens. But the problem is you can still become an American citizen and not speak English fluently or enough to even read road signs. And most of these people don't have the proper training on the vehicles that they're going to be driving. So hold on one second. I have a little bit of sinus issues this morning. I was kind of stopped up and now it's loosening up. So that's where we are on that. Now, in other similar news, there was a DMV employee. I haven't seen where she's actually from yet. I probably will find it here down in the ad, but let's see. Yeah, it's not saying. So they didn't mention her name, but it says a DMV, Department of Motor Vehicle employee, New York State is what they're showing on the video. So a New York State DMV employee got paid $3,000 per illegal she took commercial's driver's license tests for. She only got paid if they passed. So took commercial driver's license or CDL written exams. Each time she'd use disguises, sunglasses, and surgical masks to look like a different person. So this was actually her taking the exam for somebody else. Okay? So she'd split a $1,500 to $3,000 payment for each bogus test with accomplices in the DMV. Now, imagine similar scams like this taking place in every county, in every state in America. And I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but the lady that they showed in the photo, it's the same lady, and she is disguised differently, different hairdo, glasses, wearing a mask, a face diaper, the nails, and all kinds of stuff. It's the same lady. And she's a black lady, but you can see she's wearing a wig in some. She's like all different, and I'm surprised that these people at the desks aren't like verifying her identity. So she's standing there with a mask and wearing glasses and a head stocking, and the guy that's showing on the monitor um, is brown skinned. So he's either from India or Mexico, Pakistan, something like that. But she's a light skinned black lady, and she's out here doing these tests to get the tests done so these guys can go get their CDL license with their picture on it. Okay, and more related news to that. Another foreign CDL driver rear-ended a truck while barreling down the highway. The driver doesn't speak English, had no shoes on, and probably had the CDL issued to him illegally. This is a man's hard work ruined by a guy who shouldn't even be in this country. So the vehicle that he hit was an on-duty energy. It was a vehicle for an energy company in the state, and this guy now is out of work. He's in the hospital, and his truck is mashed. He can't now. He's out of work until he can heal up. All right, so this one here, just a few hours ago, a federal judge blocked Trump's DOT from disqualifying immigrants from possessing a CDL. Missouri has shut down over 170 trucks that had drivers who couldn't speak English behind the wheel. And this person here, this is Chicago Ray telling Trump to ignore that judge. Because everybody agrees we need to get these people off the road. Way too many innocent people that are getting killed by these people that are not qualified to drive 80,000-pound vehicles. Okay. In other news, U.S. Catholic bishops issue rare condemnation of Trump deportation policies. It's like the Catholic Church is they were woke already, but they've gone on double overdrive woke. So they're saying the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops approved a video message by a 216-5 vote on November 12th, 2025 in Baltimore, denouncing the Trump-Vance administration's immigration enforcement for fostering fear through raids, profiling, and harsh detention conditions. Well, listen, if you were in Mexico illegally and staying there, and because Mexico will deport you in a minute, do you think when they pick you up, they're going to treat you like kids' gloves and all nicey and put you into a hotel room or someplace nice and cushy? No, they're going to throw you into their worst prison that they got until your paperwork comes up on the judge's desk so they can kick your ass out. So these woke, I mean, and it's the Catholic Church, it's the bishops, it's these priests. There's a lot of churches out there that are like way woke, and they're like, oh, they gotta, we're for the deportations, but they gotta treat them better. They're getting treated pretty darn well from what I can see. The only ones that are getting any kind of a hardship are the ones that are fighting the cops when they're getting arrested or shooting at cops. Okay, they could get pew-pewed, but the cops aren't doing that yet. And these people are out here saying, oh, they're treating them bad because they're getting thrown on the ground, fighting with the cops, and it takes 4 cops to pin them down and get their arms back to get handcuffs on. That is no different than any other kind of criminal arrest. So as far as I'm concerned, I think these people are being treated better than with kid gloves, especially for what they're doing. They're all criminals. I mean, all they got to do is get into the right train of thought and what's actually happening here. But I don't think the Catholic priests are worried about anybody taking their job. These guys are in it for the whole time. I don't think there's too many new Catholic priests that are even coming about. All right, so last article. This here, there's been a lot of talk um, on the news the last couple of weeks, actually since the beginning of last month, where a lot of people that are in Trump's administration are actually living either on military bases or in secure locations because they're all getting death threats. Um, so this is one article that shows that something's actually being done about it. So federal authorities arrested a 51-year-old Keith Michael Lisa from California on Saturday following his alleged vandalism of acting U.S. Attorney Alina Hababa's office in Newark's Peter West Rodino Federal Building on November 12th. Lisa initially attempted entry with a baseball bat, which was denied by security, but returned without it, ripped photos from walls, overturned furniture, and fled before his capture. He faces charges of possession of a dangerous weapon in a federal facility and depredation of federal property, with Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel emphasizing zero tolerance for threats against public officials. So, what do we call that? F around, find out. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these people that are doing this. They're going to start finding out, and that's a good thing. All right. That is pretty much it in the news. Let's see. I want to get to my bookmarks. I'm going to switch back over here first, though. I am not seeing anybody in chat. So, as far as I know, my audio is working. I haven't made any changes since yesterday. So, do we not have anybody on, or very little, or just the quiet, shy people that don't say hello? Anyhow, let me just take a quick peek at this, and then we'll get into the Freaky Friday stuff. Yeah, I was playing with um, some AI stuff the last couple days, and I'm trying to kind of go back in my earlier days. I used to write songs, but I never published a song. I didn't do anything. But I'm playing with it again, and the main thing that I didn't do anything with my songs is because my my voice is horrid. I can't. I can't even call it not being able to hold a tune. I sound like those baby fainting goats when they get into stress. But with the advent of AI, it allows you to use the AI to tweak your stuff a little bit. So I get pretty good lyrics. I've had quite a few people say that these are good lyrics, but I want to put some music to them and just make my own stuff so that I can maybe use it in my own intro or something. It's my music. I can use it however I want. Anywho, all right. I'm gonna go through this real quick because I'm not getting any back talk from the people that are out there in the chats yet. So, as you all know, I'm gonna be doing a lot more of this in the future. Especially doing more with my with some of my documentary stuff. Um, into a lot of the supernatural things. Okay, anything to do with cryptids, such as Dogman, Skinwalkers, Sasquatch. I call it Sasquatch or Sabe. I don't like to use the Bigfoot name anymore. Portals, underground caverns, and then, and this is what I want to start out talking about this for, because this stuff interests me the most, and it's because it's always been right there in front of our faces. We see it every day, but we never thought anything different about it. Um, so let me preface this. At night lately, because I always have so much stuff on my mind, I need to put something on. I'll find like a long um, YouTube or a long stream or something on YouTube that's an hour or two long, and I'll put it on, and then I'll set the timer on my TV to automatically shut off. So that way I have something that I can hear and then fall asleep to. They say that that's not a good thing to do because you don't get a good night's sleep, but I found that it's actually helping me. Um, but anyway, last night I couldn't get to sleep because I was listening to this channel called Free the Rabbits. And I think he was on part 4 of his what they call Little Season series. And I haven't listened to parts 1, 2, and 3 yet. I just found this one. I thought I'd put it on. But he related back to some of his previous stuff, and he was constantly talking about two people that put books out that, in my opinion, are discredited. They fall under the whole Darwin thing, and it's nuts. But there was some actual truth, as far as I'm concerned, that he's saying is debunking, because he says if you're a Christian and you don't go by the dates and times of the Bible, then you're not really a true Christian. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, um, because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he was talking about in reference to the timelines, okay, or like chronology of time. He beats around the bush and talks a lot about what these other people are saying, but then he references to other people that I now believe were written up characters and probably never existed, of things that they supposedly put out there that would be so easy to get people locked onto to divert them off to another direction. Okay, and I think that's exactly what happened with him. So when I do my research, when it is referencing our human timeline here on Earth, I try to use as best as I can the Bible as my guide, because the Bible does have what is it a chronologic procession of when that started being written about for the Bible, and then going through. So I mean, Genesis is like huge timeline stuff. Okay, it really lays out um, where people were in the timeline in each part of the Bible. Okay, I guess that would be the easiest way for me to say it. But that being said, there is no place in the Holy Bible, I don't care what version you have, that has a date on whether it be the Gospels, which are when Jesus Christ spent most of his time on the earth, and he was the Son of God. He was born of the Virgin, and he walked the earth as a human man, and then later died on the cross for our sins, and then ascended to heaven, and then basically our sins are forgiven for that. But the chronological order of the Bible, there are no actual dates. There was no, there may have been like a Hebrew calendar or something at that point in time, but I'm not well versed with the Hebrew calendar and even how far. I know, like, we're like in the 5,000s or something like that for like whatever their date is. Okay, I could probably bring it up. Here, let's do this. Let's make it the easy way. I'm just going to go ask Copilot really quick and go in voice.
Hey, Mr. E, what's on your mind today?
Hey there. In for the Hebrew calendar, what is the date today?
Today in the Hebrew calendar is the 3rd of Kislev, 5786.
Thank you very much. 5786. Okay, so they 5,786 years ago is when the Hebrew calendar and time, their date keeping started. Okay, and that kind of even leads more credence to what I'm going to talk about right now. And you guys are probably getting sick of hearing it from me, but I believe that our history, since just before the 1800s, possibly even a little bit before that, maybe around the 1600s, has been rewritten. Okay? So we have buildings, and let's even just for a moment forget about the buildings here in the United States. Let's go back to Europe, where everybody was coming from. Let's go to Bulgaria. Let's go to Hungary. Let's go to Romania. Let's go to Russia. Let's go to Ukraine, Moldova. All these places have buildings that were built as far back on, and Wikipedia will tell you, and who believes Wikipedia, because anybody can rewrite Wikipedia, including AI. But these buildings were built pre-year 1000, some of these buildings. Okay, they were built in like the 900s, and there were some that even go back before that. And some of these buildings that they're talking about are today cathedrals that are like churches, places of worship. They're libraries, they're government buildings, all different kinds of things. And then you ask, well, how do you know when it was built? We're seeing a constant, and I don't have a picture readily available to you, but I can explain it well enough. If you look on a cornerstone of a building, it usually has the date of when that cornerstone was laid. That was when they're going to start building that building. Okay, in the old world, I'm guessing that was probably a trend too. They did that back then. But when you see some of these buildings with a date, and for example, it's got the date on it will say like 1817. Okay, but if you look at the number one in front of the 8, and then the 1 for the 17, the 1 at the front of the 8 for the 18 has like a little bit of a loop. There's a loop to it before it goes down. Where the other one is just pretty much a straight down number 1, and it might have a little base on it. Okay, so what that tells me is that was added, and you see that all over the place. Now let's jump back over to the United States and go to New York, on St. St. Patrick's Cathedral. I don't know what the date is on that. I could probably look it up, but I'm not really worried too much about the date on there, because I know that they've got it fudged in some way, shape, or form where it says like it was built before 1850. Okay. And I do know from a picture that I've seen that it's got that weird number 1 in front of the 18. So it should really be like, the year would be like 849 or something like that, or 848. I mean, there's some buildings that have 1903 and they got the funky one. So it was really, the year was 903. So what I'm trying to say is this what they call the little season, or Satan's little season. I think that has already happened, or it's going on right now and we're into it already, because I think that at least 1,000 years, based off of these cornerstone numbers, at least 1,000 years was added on to the timeline. Okay. Um, Going back to Wikipedia, you can go most of the places where you can get the information on these buildings where it's supposedly full and complete is Wikipedia. But if you go and find yourself 10, 15, 20 of these old world buildings, these old cathedrals, and it doesn't matter if you find them in the United States or anywhere in old Europe, you look at them, read the Wikipedia on them, and they all, number one, have a fire story. They burnt down and they were rebuilt in a year. The other thing that I look at is the architecture on these buildings. There is no way today, even, that we have, unless you have a giant 3D printer, that you can build a building exactly like St. Patrick's Cathedral in the Gothic form, I guess you want to call it. You can't build that today. And they're trying to say that it was built in like 18 some like 1845. I'm not, don't quote me exactly on the date, but in the 1800s. Okay. But if they're taking 1,000 years off of our timeline and we are now back into the 800s, okay, people are, this is a past civilization. A lot of people believe it was the Tartarians and other people, but Tartarians pretty much had most most of the land in the world. Even like today's American Indians, back then they were called Indian Tarta or Tartas. Okay, so that was all part of Tartaria, which now, unless you do some deep digging, you can't even find hardly anything in Tartaria. Um, it gets crazy. Okay, now you guys all know me. I'll harp on a subject over and over, and I might be able to add or glean some new information for you if I can get it to stick up here. It's kind of hard. I have so much stuff crammed in my head. It leaks out, and I gotta go back and I gotta go look stuff up. But rather than recreating the wheel, I give all credence of the group of people that are doing the best job on this research. And they mentioned in a couple of their videos Satan's little season or the little season. Okay, but I can tell you straight up, they do mention stuff biblical all the time. They always bring up stuff about the Bible, and they do talk about Jesus, but it's not a fully Christian channel. Okay, it's a research channel. They're looking at what they'll call lost or rewritten history, and they do the deep dives. Now you're gonna say, well, hey, over at this channel, and I'm gonna tell you, it's called My Lunch Break, MLB, My Lunch Break. They got their videos broken down from the very first one, from number one going up, and their last Saturday, because they're going to come out with a new one today. Last Saturday was episode 151, but then they also have along the way have taken because their episodes are only 20 to 30 minutes long normally. Very rarely do they hit 30 minutes. But part of that, a couple 3-4 minutes, has to do with acknowledging their badge members and the people that help them so they can do the research that they're doing. But they acknowledge every one of their people. So basically, my lunch break will take some of their small ones that they've done and they will put them together so that they might skip some of these episodes, might skip episodes, but they have things that are in them that tie other things together. Okay. They go very in depth on the timeline. And what we have in our written history today is what supposedly was around certain time frames what the population of the earth was. Okay. So they can say, okay, based off of the growth, the growth of the population from then across time to today and or up to a certain point and then it skyrockets, they can they can take a percentage and they err on the high side. They can take a percentage and say that the population growth over this span of years is growing this many percent. So that takes us from what the population was then to what our population is now. So using pretty much the same math, I guess, you can go backwards and they can go back to where supposedly there was nobody on the earth. Okay. So I don't think you can actually go to where there was nobody, but I think what it does is it brings you back to somewhere in the time of the previous civilization. Okay. They talk a lot about, sorry about the microphone. They talk a lot about the mud flood. Okay. So a lot of these buildings that I'm talking about, that you see, the parts of the buildings that you can see today that are above ground and beautiful and just crazy, just like wondrous. How did they do that back then? But as you walk down the sidewalk alongside some of these buildings, you see that this much of the window is showing and then this much of the window, but you never have more than at ground level, more than half of that window showing. Okay. And even if you go to New York City today, you can go down the sidewalks and see stairs that go down to a lower level where the building was built, and you can tell by the shading of the brick that that part was underground for a while. So a lot of these buildings were underground 1 to 3. I think there were some that were 4 stories. And then going to go back to talking about my lunch break and the other things that he points out. It wasn't just these buildings being here already. There was a cataclysm that wiped out all these people. Okay. So what was the cataclysm? Best what we can tell was a mud flood, or this could have been the deluge of the Bible for all we know, the flood. Okay. We only know of the areas around the Middle East according to the Bible of, I mean, we know that through Genesis, and they show the genealogy going through that. We know that the population was growing and people were spreading out and they were going to other places. Okay. Knowing what we know now, we know that a lot of those people ended up in what we know as North America and South America today. A lot of, just think of the pyramids. Gaza is not the only place that has pyramids. There are pyramids in South America. There are pyramids in China and Cambodia, all over the place. Okay. And these pyramids date back. The ones in China have been covered with dirt and they're growing trees on them. They purposely covered them up. All right. So back to my lunch break. I have to keep segueing back to that. He talks about all of this stuff. And if you start from the beginning and work your way through like I did, you get like this crazy, unbelievable understanding that, number one, they've got the receipts. This is irrefutable. So anybody out there like who, and I'm going to tell you that Free the Rabbits never even mentioned what my lunch break is doing in their research. He says the Free the Rabbits is saying, oh, well, these guys aren't doing their due diligence, and he's just using. He's not saying my lunch break. He's just putting all these other people into a pool of a group of people that, and none of them are doing their research. And that's exactly how he was talking last night. And just his voice irritated me to the point that I couldn't listen to him anymore. Not just that he was putting out bad information. I mean, yeah, he was putting some truth out there, but when you're putting out truth, a percentage, but the disinformation that you're putting out there, or your own bias, your self bias, that you're is a bigger percentage of what you're putting out there, and then saying that you're not a Christian if you don't believe in the way that I believe in it. It's hocus pocus. It's wrong, and it's I would say don't even listen to that guy anymore. And unfortunately, a guy that I highly respect, Tony Merkel, with the confessionals, he actually owns Merkel Media, in which this Free the Rabbits runs under. He kind of Free the Rabbits does his own thing, but he's doing it under the flagship of the confessionals. And I feel bad for Tony Merkel, because Tony is straight on, boom. He only talks about the Bible. He doesn't get into any of the other stuff. If he goes off of like Bible, it always comes right back to it, because he's either talking supernatural and how it relates to the Bible and how to protect yourself as a Christian. That's the realm that he's in. So, and he's basically helping to unlock the minds of a lot of the people that grew up in the old style Baptist type churches and Methodist churches, that, and including Catholic, Lutheran, all of them, that don't talk about the spiritual side of the things that happen in the Bible. Okay. There are some people that will call it paranormal. I use the word paranormal when I'm talking about ghosts, but in reality, you should be using the supernatural, because those ghosts are probably those same people that we talk about from the supernatural side. And it's a bleed through from what I call, what Tony calls, a lot of people call, the second heaven. We live in the first heaven. There's a second heaven. The third heaven is where God resides. So the war for your soul and my soul is going on in the second heaven. Okay. And another thing that Tony and I agree on 100%, Satan doesn't care if you worship him or not. All he cares about is that you don't worship God and you don't worship Jesus Christ. He doesn't want you to have Jesus in your life. And if you don't have Jesus in your life, he's won. Satan is won. That's all Satan needs to do, is deter you from our God, our Lord God and Savior. Okay? So, now I went off on another rabbit hole, but let's get back to the timelines. Mud flood. 3 to 4 stories below is how deep this mud is in certain places. Also, if you are out in the desert, even in the American deserts, and you see some of the old Pueblo stuff even, there are some other things out there where the rock formations look like they actually got melted, like the rock got heated to a point where it melted. Okay, because then you'll see in Wikipedia they say, oh yeah, they carved this out of stone. They didn't carve it, they just broke off the stuff that was either melted, or the mud flood that turned to stone or hardened like clay or rock over time. I want to talk real quick. When I was a little kid, I was at my grandma's house, and she had this bowl. I found this bowl. It was an old cereal bowl. It was laying out in the yard. I think one of my aunts or uncles was using it. They were collecting worms for fishing or something. I found this bowl, and then I went over by the mud puddle, and I scooped up mud out of the mud puddle. And in that mud, there was a little bit of clay mixed in with that too. But because there was the mud puddle, the slime, I got it all in there, and I made this cereal bowl with mud in it, and I made like a nice mud patty bowl. Okay, but then I ended up setting that bowl off on the back corner of the house, and I forgot about it. It was just there, didn't do anything with it, and believe it or not, nobody touched that thing. And many years later, when we went back, my grandparents were gonna they had, it was a mobile home, and they were gonna be moving that mobile home up to northern Wisconsin from Illinois. So we're going and we're taking the all the skirting off around the bottom, getting it ready, checking tires and getting ready for it to be hooked up and hauled up to northern Wisconsin. Lo and behold, I'm at the back of the house, and here's that ledge sticking out on, I would call it a bumper or whatever, off the back of the trailer that nobody touched. Nobody went back there or did anything with it. Here's this bowl that I made that mud pie in. And after all those years of just sitting in that bowl, I picked it up and I clunked it, and hard as a rock, this thing pops out in one big piece. I couldn't break it with my hands. The only way I was able to break it was to smack it against a rock a bunch of times. This thing had the hardness of a soft rock. Okay, so my point is that these mud floods over time can possibly look like melted stuff over where buildings were. Now, if you go over to the Middle East, there's quite a few photographs that MLB took, and or that they didn't take them, but they're out there, photos of these places. Some of the buildings where they talked about how some of them are in the ground, where they dug down 3-4 stories underground to unearth this temple. Okay, and they said, yeah, they carved this out of rock. No, they didn't. They got through the hard stuff at the top, then they hit dirt. They were able to clear it out, and then they realized, hey, there were some doorway passages here. The dirt gave way, because when you're underground and you're not under that much heat that far down, the doorways give way. Then over time, they started opening up the doors, and if there were windows and whatnot, and they find out that here's this big giant, they call it today a temple, but I believe that they were some kind of a resonance chamber for healing. Okay. Also in the nearby area, now we're in the Middle East, and we're looking like through Syria and um, Egypt, even going all the way over to India and like Afghanistan, all over there too. There are places where they've got these. Some of them are up on, like, they're like a mountaintop, but they look like they've been melted. And what that tells me, some kind of a deluge. And the if you think about it, the way the deluge happened, the rain came down from the skies, but most of it came up from the ground and blew up through the ground. So when that water is coming up through the ground, what's it going to be bringing with it? A very high quantity of dirt, rocks, mud, clay, coal, whatever's under that ground gets blown up and lands on these mountain tops or or buildings. Okay, in this case, it's buildings, because they talk Wikipedia, which is, in my opinion, they probably had something akin to what we call AI today. They had it back then, maybe, or like back in the 1800s, or whenever history started getting rewritten, because a lot of people refer back to some of these other old books. Okay, and they allow you to use those old books for history, but why can't we use most of the Dead Sea Scrolls as part of our written history? It's because the church leaders back then deemed it too dangerous to what it would mess up our spirituality, or they thought it would mess up our belief in God, or we would have had the Great Awakening back then instead of it happening now. Okay, in my opinion. So I know I'm jumping all over the place, and I'm just trying to make sure that I can explain and give you guys this information. But in my opinion, this is huge. And like I'll talk about it, and I'll do short videos on it. I may still do some more on this and highlight certain. I might take groups of things that MLB covers and tie them in all together. I might take like one building or a group of buildings or maybe a city and then take all of those different parts and pieces of what he's slowly showing us over time, all the way up to later today, episode 152 on my lunch break. He's showing us, or he and his group, they're showing us and proving that history was rewritten. We do not know the truth about where we live, about our planet or our plane, whatever you may believe, if you're a flat earther or a glober. We know nothing about where we live. We know even less about the seas. And according to all we know, we may not have even ever gone to space or gone to the moon. We might have just did that to try to fake out the Russians so we could say that we were the first ones. Otherwise, we would have been back there. Or maybe we have been back and haven't been told about it. Maybe there really is a secret space program. Who knows? I'm hearing a lot of stuff from certain people that I follow, and I trust them when they talk about secret space program, but even they could have been deceived, and rather than going through two different planets, they went to different realms on the plane that we live on. There's so many ways that could be explained if you open your mind and read the 1, 2, or 3 different ways that you can either literally or figuratively read on the creation in the Bible. Okay, it's pretty in depth. It's pretty. I in my opinion, I think it's pretty detailed at the points that we need to know on how things were created on planet Earth. So I don't know, if I had some people that were chatting with me here and bringing it up, I could maybe highlight some things or answer some questions. But as I said, I'm gonna continue. The Friday live stream is usually for sure going to be the longest one because I'm going to cover like news and the crazy stuff. But this is the format of Freaky Friday. I'm going to talk about the things that have been hidden from us. I'm going to take what I call lift from from one of my other series that I do, and we're going to try to lift the veil on the stuff that's being hidden from us that we've been lied to about. Why they're putting certain things in vaccines, why they're putting all these poisons in our food, why they're spraying poisons in the air, what exactly are they doing, and how badly have they affected our DNA that maybe now, if you go really deep into the DNA part of it, we might not really be all 100% human anymore. Who knows what was in the jab of 2020, guys and gals? Who knows? So anyway, that is all I'm going to do on this today. We will be back Monday morning for morning coffee. And I didn't drink a lot of coffee today because I was just going on the talk. But as always, please be aware of your surroundings. Be safe. Head on a swivel. It doesn't matter if you live in a big city, the suburbs, or a little town in the middle of nowhere. Trouble always knows how to find you, and you have to know how to be able to protect yourself. And if you're not packing, be with somebody that is. And if you don't believe in it, I'm sorry, but make sure you got somebody that is willing to protect you if you're out and about. So every single one of you on the other side of the screen, God bless you, and I'll see you Monday. Have a great rest of your weekend.